on Saturday.
Well, what else was a lot of fun is over the weekend, I saw a business report. And you know how much I'm a nerd for the wrestling business. I love to see, hey, where are things going? Where are things headed? What's hot? What's not? What's creating money? What's drawing money? And we know that there's one thing that draws every time. The Last Outlaw Double J has the hottest selling action figure over at Wrestling Collectibles. Take a look at what we see there. I can't believe this is like taking this long for there to be an AEW Jeff Jarrett figure. But boy, the people who drug their feet in Jacksonville are looking real foolish now, because he is the hottest selling action figure in all of Ringside Collectibles. He beat out Cody Rhodes. Who'd he ever beat? He beat out CM Punk. What? He beat out MJF. Remember him? What about Roman Reigns? He's all the way down at 8. Now, my country math says that Jeff Jarrett is 7 times the performer in the draw that Roman Reigns is. The math is right. The evidence is right there. And then at the bottom of the list, hey, nostalgia still sells. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. That's pretty cool. I'll give that. That's cool. But dude, you outsold Cody Rhodes. You outsold CM Punk. You outsold MJF. You outsold Roman Reigns. And not by a little bit, by a lot bit. The hottest action figure. Folks just can't get enough. And by the way, it's got our podcast logo on it. How cool was this, man? Your first AEW figure.
How about that? Pretty exciting. Yes, I was the attention to detail. Yes, the logo being on there, Connie. My office is a wreck right now, but I remember I was sitting in my chair right at there, and you were like, "Hey, man, as we get into this podcast and that kind of." The Jays had been around a while, but he's like, and there's a photo that's in my wall of me silhouetted that guitar up, and you probably can tell the story better than I am. But that logo in there, Connie, it's on Ringside Collectibles. How about that? Congrats to you, my man.
Congrats to Chris McDonald, who made the original logo. But we were thinking, hey, man, what if we did like the NBA sort of logo, but with you and a guitar? And there it is. And now it's on an action figure. And it's the hottest selling figure around. Go right now to Ringside Collectibles. Be sure to keep this trend going, because I'll tell you this. If he's not the number one seller next week, I'll know that somebody made a call and bought some figures to bump their numbers up.
Here we go.
It's shameful, the game that gets played in wrestling sometimes. People are going to start putting some respect on your name one way or another. So listen, man, we have wanted to talk about Jerry Lawler on this program for a while. And we've told a little bit of your backstory and your history of your fandom and how high regard you held Randy Savage. I mean, he first really rose to prominence in Memphis and then was on the rocket ship with Vince. And you're still maybe in your peak fandom years when you're seeing all that happen. And you got to think, man, this is what's possible. But then you also had, and I don't think this can really be debated, the greatest territory wrestler of all time in Jerry Lawler. I mean, in terms of not like he went to all the territories, and sure, Lawler did some of that. But I mean, he set up roots, and this was his home, and he did it at a high level. And I'm not just talking about like he was in the main event and he booked himself in the main event. And I know some smart ass naysayer is going to say that. I mean, he drew money. I'm talking about the business of professional wrestling. He lived like a king and was in his bed most every night. If that is not the prototype of a badass wrestling career, I don't know what is, right, Jeff?
I don't even know where to dive off into starting about, but I think at the very highest level, and look, circumstances on so many things, but, and I know that there have been different guys say different things, but as far as a professional wrestler, in my opinion, there's nothing Jerry can't do or did. And heel, babyface, and I'm not just talking about that, draw money, all kinds of matches, all kinds of stories, all that. And he's an anomaly because there's so many things that go in. Jerry's a complicated person. He's so unique. He's flawed like all of us, but at the very end of the day, I've often thought, now what really sets Jerry apart? Because Never drank, never smoked. Yeah, that's kind of sets you apart in our, especially in the territory days. Um, Another thing, never went into a gym, never exercised a day in his life. Nope, all this. Okay. Yeah, so there's different things, but at the end of the day, I think if there's one trait, and I'd love to hear your kind of feedback on this, and maybe a name game or right off the top to comparative speaking, because when you think about the Von Erichs or Dusty or different territory stars, Pat Patterson, we could go on and on and on. But what set Jerry apart from everybody else? And I think at the very core of it is Jerry is truly an artist. His creativity kept him, in my opinion, 72, 73 at the very top of the business. So in the territories, he stayed on top. When a guy his age, most of the time, looked at retirement, he transitioned, and he was not a good color commentator. And I know it's debatable, but he was on top as a color commentator for years and years and years. And so there's, in the professional wrestling industry, there's nothing really he couldn't do. He booked, he wrestled, a business guy, promo guy, on and on and on, color commentator, all that kind of stuff. His success is unparalleled in the territory days, and I always try to, I always did try to analyze it. But his creativity, God's gift to him of having that creative mind, set him apart.
I can't wait for us to talk about Lawler. I mean, I don't think it can be debated. He's the biggest star in the history of the Memphis territory, and he was born November 29th, 1949. He has aspirations of being an artist, and we know how fabulous he is with a pen and paper, and a disc jockey. And I believe he was actually in Hendersonville, Tennessee when he became a wrestler. Is that the story you've heard?
No. He started in Memphis, got trained by some folks, started over in Arkansas. In those days, it wasn't called independent wrestling. It was called outlaw. Little shows, because he couldn't get on the territory circuit, but nobody could when they broke in. So there were little small shows, but man, it didn't take him long. And the real entry into the business is Jackie Fargo. At the time, he wasn't called the King of Memphis, but he was by far the number one box office attraction, and had set up roots in Memphis. He had a restaurant, nightclub in Memphis, and Lawler, with his charm, he sent in drawings, paintings, or whatever it may be, to the studio. But that's how, so the connection was there at a very early age. WHBQ, that's the AB affiliate where wrestling was on. But him and Jackie Fargo became friends, and that was really his, I guess you could say, his entrance into the territory was that relationship between him and Jackie, the top babyface draw.